right. How many of you do currently use serials? I know, Ron, you do.
Yep, I do,
I know.
although I haven't used it in the web client yet, so.
No, not in the web client. No, that's why you're here. I've
Yeah.
been discouraging any use of it in the web client until you got a thorough explanation, because I didn't want anybody to get confused about what they were seeing and just get themselves lost. Okay, well, the web client is as I said a moment ago, is a more streamlined interface than what you're used to in the old client. You don't have a whole bunch of tabs to go through to establish subscription, distribution, and stream. That's all done on the same page. There are separate tabs for your predictions and then for managing issues, but we will show you all of that. Let me just get started with my PowerPoint. All right, the permissions for using serials, the setup work, like setting up your subscription and setting up your prediction patterns and all that requires the staff member to have the full serials permission group added to their user account. If you're from a library who's been using serials, you most likely already have that, but if you find that something's not working for you, please send a help desk ticket to ask about the permissions. And if you're a new serials library, or considering being one, also send a help desk ticket to ask for serials permission and designate which staff members should have it. The permission to receive your issues, that's been included in the regular basic staff permission group, so there's no need to get any special permission for that. All right, the first thing we're going to look at are the serial copy templates. They're kind of similar to the item templates, but they plug into your serials when you're checking an issue. If you want an issue to be, an item to be generated while you check in, this fills in the information. In the old client, we had to create them at headquarters because there was no way to create them with ownership by a single library. So I ended up creating all these template names that had library names in front of them, just so that you could pick yours off of a list that you saw everybody's. In the web client, we're going to go to administration, serials administration, and you can create your own serial copy templates if you don't already have them. Again, the current serial libraries already have these templates set up. There's 3 fields you can touch. The rest of them ignore. So set up for shelving location, circulation modifier, and then status. If you want to say available right away, you can. That's an option. And you can set a value for individual issue prices, so that'd be automatically plugged into your item record when it's generated. There is no way to define the state circ code. So if you go to look at the item record, you'll find there's no value in there. You still have the red box and you won't be able to save whatever changes you might have made later. Jessica has a SQL script she periodically runs to fill in those values. So I went to administration, serials administration, and I picked off serial item templates. I'm using Killingworth. Apologies to Kayla that I just needed somebody who is totally not serials involved. So I want to start with a clean slate. So I'm going to click on create template. I'm going to my shelving location.
I'm sorry, Mary, excuse me for a minute.
Oh,
I
didn't share anything. I forgot. I should be used to this by now after all the trainings I've done. So I will start over.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for speaking up, Leslie. I would hate to just sit here chattering to myself about things that you don't see. All right. First slide was about permissions. Were there any questions from what I just said? I mean, I basically read what's on here. So permissions are for setup work, you've got to have them assigned to at least one staff person to be able to do the setup work. And receiving belongs to everybody on your staff, your regular staff. Serial copy templates. It's the basis for creating items when you're receiving issues. And you can create your own if you don't have them. If you're brand new to serials, you can create your own now. It no longer has to be managed by the central staff. Okay, so let me back up. And I got here by going to serials administration, and picking off serial item templates. I'm clicking create template. And there's only 3 fields you should touch. You can ignore all the stuff about whether it circulates or whether it's reference and all that stuff. That's governed by your library's settings, including your circ modifiers and the circ rules for that. So I'm going to look for, I had it before, adult magazine. There it is. And the circulation modifier, I don't know if this is correct for Killingworth, but it will work today. And then my status, I'm going to make it available. And I'm going to give a name to the template. I'm going to say adult magazine, and I'm going to save it. If I have children's magazines, I can create another template. And save. So now I've got a choice of templates whenever I'm setting up my subscription. Let's see, there's a couple of chat questions here. Okay, no, that was from earlier. Okay. Now I'm going to go look for a magazine. Let me go to my next slide. The easiest search I find is if you're using the basic search, you can use the magazine's title using a title search and with the magazine format, and that'll get you right there. And if your library already has items attached to the record, then limit the search to your library. If this is a brand new subscription you're setting up and you don't have any items attached, then search all of Bibliomation, which is represented as CONS for consortium. If you happen to have the ISSN, feel free to use the keyword search. But I'm going to do my title search, birds and blooms. Make it a title. Make it a magazine. And I'm brand new to this, so I'm going to leave it at all Bibliomation. Actually, on this screen, it does say Bibliomation. So click search. Put that into my magazine. All right, next slide. All right, so there's a button on this screen that says serials. And when you click on it, it opens up 3 menus. And the menu we're going to want is to create a subscription. When we get to the new subscription screen page, if your library is brand new to serials, it'll say there's no subscription. Otherwise, you'll see your subscription there. You're going to want to you're going to click new subscription. You want to indicate that you're the owning library and put in the start date of your subscription, not your magazine publication. That's a required field. If you know the end date of your subscription, you can fill that in. Otherwise, you can skip it. And then there's an entry for expected offset, and that's optional. That's one that if your magazine arrives a few days earlier than the date that's on the issue, you can say it comes in -2 days or 2 days before. So let me get in there and set up. So here's my serials button, and I'm going to manage subscriptions. You can say, see this brand new, it says no subscriptions owned by this library. So I'm clicking on the button that says new subscription. So the owned by was already filled in. My start date, this particular magazine, it's every other month. So the first issue is February, March. So I'm going to say it started in February. I don't have an end date. And I can say my offset is say -3 days. And then even though there's an add distribution button here, you don't have to click on that because the distribution is already supplied for you right on this screen. So let me get to that slide. It's distributed at your library. If you're a multi-branch library, you'll have to figure out your branches and assign which subscriptions go into which branch. The label is a free text field to identify the branch or department where you're distributing the subscription. It's not publicly visible. It only shows when the item is received. The next entry is the OPAC choice for holdings. You can choose if the holdings, the issues held band, when you open that up, it will list them, the issues in chronological or by enumeration, volume number. And then the receiving template, that's actually the serials copy template that we just set up. And that's used if you want items created when receiving an issue. And it plugs in the shelving location, the circ modifier, and if you assigned a status, that'll be plugged in too. And again, it does not include the state circ stat category. This must be entered later by library staff, or you can let Jessica's script fill that in. All right, so I'm going to put the label, I'm going to say adult department. I'm going to leave it as chronological, and I'll open up my list, and I see the two templates that I just set up, so I'm picking this as adult. The last step is a stream, and that is a free text field to indicate where the subscription is intended, but you don't have to fill in anything. The streams that were created in the old client are showing up as blank, and that doesn't seem to be a problem. And I played with it and found you can create a new stream without putting a name in that text field. If you get multiple copies of each issue, then each should get its own stream. And if you enter a name for the stream, it will be entered as route to in the grid we'll see below. So again, you don't have to click add new item stream. It's already here. That's what that send to box is. So you can just ignore that. And when we have these 3 lines filled in, or ignored as it were, I'm going to click save and watch the grid below. So the subscription is represented. Oh, it looks like I accidentally clicked on something I didn't mean to. Let me just remove that one. Action. Delete that second subscription. That was actually good for you to see. If you do have an accident, the management of whether these things are here or not are governed by this actions menu. So this is another one of these columns that you can manage what shows and in what order. I think I'm pretty happy with the way things are, so I'm just going to leave them here. But if I did make any changes, I need to remember to save. Well, I didn't make a change. Oh, here it is. I need to remember to save my columns if I make any changes here. All right, so you see this route to is empty. That's because that stream box is left empty. If we want to do routing, that would appear under additional routing. If you want to have the magazine handed off around the library before it goes into the public display, you can set up a routing list and either use department or the individual people's names. It asks for a patron barcode, but remember the usernames that you use to log into Evergreen, those are actually treated as barcodes. So that's what you would enter in that box. And I played with it and I found that also that since department is a free text box, if you wanted to, you could add staff members' names there instead of entering them as a reader. You can sort the list of entries or delete them as needed. And when we go to, when we've created issues, there's a box on the Manage Issues tab that you check so that it will always prompt to print the routing list when you've checked in an issue. All right, so go down here, say additional routing. So if I wanted to use the Evergreen username, staff username, I can add that and I click add route. Okay. If I wanted to, you can see I've been playing here. If I wanted to do an individual person name and not use their patron record, I can decide their department. I could say, add an actual department. And then with these, you can play with the order. You could say that the reference department should see it first. So just use the up and down arrows to move them around. And you can say, I don't want to send it to Mary Llewellyn. I'm going to take that off the list. So right now you see me crossed off, but if we went back in here, the name would disappear. So when I'm all done, I'm going to click update. And it doesn't show you the routing names here. It just says, yes, there's additional routing. That's true. If there weren't, it says false. Are there any questions so far?
I just had a question. Can you print that routing too?
Yes, when you actually check the issue in, you can send it to a printer and print that off and stick it in your magazine so people can cross their names off when they saw it. Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's kind of the main point of this routing list, to have a physical piece of paper to use. Okay. We're getting into the nitty gritty now. So far, so good. It's dead easy compared to the old client. Now we're getting to predictions. You can still create a prediction template manually, like you did in the old client. But you can also use pre-made templates, and I have a list of them. You'll see, and whatever you pick, if it's not exactly to what your magazine is, you can adjust the settings if no issues are attached, and there won't be because you're just doing this. But it's important to know your magazine before you get started. Find out how frequently it's published, which weeks, days, months, etc. And check out the enumeration. When does the volume number change? What date is issue number 1 in the volume? Does the volume number change more than once a year? And so on. And I know it's a lot of work, but this is the way to do serials properly. So I'm going into the next tab. It says Manage Predictions. And I was playing with Ridgefield before, so let me put it back to Killingworth. And it shows you which subscription you're doing this prediction for. You could click Add New and then, create your pattern, go through all the steps as you did in the old client. But I'm going to show you the wonder of templates. All right, so I have created a bunch of templates ahead. It's not exhaustive. There's a couple of weekly ones, but I don't really have access to the weekly magazines to know exactly what's going on with them. But you can certainly use them as a starting point and make changes to it to reflect what your magazine is. So I did some where the year started in July, some where the month starts in February with December and January combined. So I did a bunch of monthlies that have combined issues, so to try to ease your path there. The one I'm working with right now is a bi-monthly. So if I click Create Pattern Now and I open it up, no, wait a minute. I skipped a button somewhere. Create, oh, by month. Oh, create from template. I knew it was something obvious I was missing. Now we go. So you're clicking Edit Pattern, and everything that was in that pattern template, you can look at and make changes to. For instance, this has the start of the year in January, and I know it's February, March is the first issue. So I'm changing that to February. But everything else looks okay. Volume number, 6 issues, and it restarts when the 6th issue has been published. Then issue number 1 will start in February again. I'm going to go to next. This is already set up. I know some libraries kind of liked this description, year, and show the year and month. To me, it looks a little crowded, so I'm not going to do that. Then I'm going to next, and this is something that really doesn't involve us, but I've learned that the best settings are can compress or expand, so I'm leaving that alone. And then I picked, there's a whole bunch of publication patterns, and I picked off the bi-monthly, so that's already there. So I'm going to click next, and I can just save it. I'm not saving it as a new pattern name, so that's why I didn't fill that in. So it's just saved for you. Okay. I'll give you a peek here about combining weeks. What's happening here is we're combining. This is like in January, the 3rd and 4th weeks combine. In April, the 3rd and 4th weeks combine, and May and July and August and so forth. So that's an example of how combinations are done. Now, when you go to create it, it asks you for an issue to base it on, and there's no more having to go backward in time and base on the previous year's issue or the previous volume's issue. The first issue is going to be the first one of the volume that you're receiving. I would say predict at least 4 issues to test the pattern, but that depends on how many issues are in the volume in order to get a good sample to include combined or omitted issues to see if the pattern's really working. And then you go to the Manage Issues tab to check on the prediction to see if the issues came out the way you wanted them to. If it did, great. You can predict more issues to fill out the volume and start the next. If it didn't, then delete the predicted issues, go back to the prediction template and make corrections, and then try again. All right, so I'm going to click Create, and now I'm going to do Predict New Issues. And here's where I'm going to put in, let's see. And it's knows because I told it starts in February. It's filled in 02, February. And I'll do a prediction count. I'm going to go for the whole 6. Maybe I'll go to 7 just so I can see the turn of the year. And it automatically flips you to the Manage Issues tab. And you can review February, April, June, August, October, December, and then back to February. So everything looks good there. We'll talk more about this tab in a little bit. So prediction patterns can be edited after its creation as long as the predicted issues all have the status of expected. Once an issue is moved into a different status, such as received, the prediction pattern can't be changed. If a magazine frequency changes, then mark the prediction pattern, the current one, as inactive. Remove future issues that were generated by that now inactive pattern and set up a new pattern for the new frequency and predict the issues for that one. Let's see. Let's try. Actually, I had an issue I want to work on with that. Let's see this one. Actually, keyword that is record ID search. There we go. I'm going to temporarily be me so I can do things outside of my own library just for today. Okay. All right, so I'm going to serials and manage subscriptions. No, I don't. I actually want to see Ridgefield at this point, so. Okay. So we see examples here in the past where predictions had been deactivated, and we have a current pattern. The third one is active. All right. So let me just see what we've got going here. Got some issues here. And if I wanted to say, okay, actually the pattern changed to become, it was monthly and it became bi-monthly, and actually did that in 2020, I'm going to delete the expected ones. I select them, I go up to Actions, and I'm going to say delete items. Okay. Then if I went back to the predictions, I'm going to deactivate this one And I'm going to create from template, for the template, another, it's going to be bi-monthly just for argument's sake. Let me see, save that. Okay, create from template, monthly. Edit the pattern. Let's do another one like I did with that last one. Next, 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 save. And I'll create, and I'll predict my new issue for that. So I'm going to say, I must not have changed the January one. That's fine. So now you can see that it's taken up the new pattern. So you don't have, if things wrench in the middle, that's all you need to do. Go delete what was predicted, then do deactivate the old prediction and create a new prediction with the new frequency, and you're all set. Any questions on that? Okay. Let me go back to where I was with Killingworth. Let me be me again. Restore operator and serials management. Okay, so now I'm going to manage issues. And I've got to reset back to Killingworth again because I changed the game on it. Okay. Okay, there we are. So there's a number of actions that can be performed on this screen. Right now, the actions menu isn't active. You can see the actions, but they're not active until you have an item selected. So you could do receiving here. You can also reset an item. If you receive something accidentally, you can set it back. You can add the following issue at the end here. I could say add the following issue. So it doesn't remember what my volume number is. That's unfortunate, but you can also add a special issue here. So if they have like a special, go back a year. Say they have a special spring issue on April 12th. You can say spring issue and save that. And I expect it to insert itself. Oh, because I'm here. I'm seeing 2021 here. Oh, it's because it is 2021. Okay. Let me see. I should be able to edit that as well. So edit holding code, and I'm going to change the year to, this is good because, things happen. So it's good to show you how to bail out of things. Okay, there we go. And just going to save it. And it looks like I lost my spring issue met. So I'm going to edit it one more time. You know what? I'm going to kill the whole thing because I've getting myself confused. So let me delete this. Okay. And another special issue. And I'm going to change that to April 21st. There we go, issuance label. That's where I expected to see it. All right. Apologies for the little side route, but we got there. So you can receive here, as I said, receive next. And because we had, oh, wait, let me stop a second. You should, if you're going to be printing routing lists and barcode on receive, you should make sure these boxes are checked. If this is unchecked and you try to receive, it will just receive it without giving you a chance to create the item. So make sure that you have barcode on receive checked. That's very important. Now I'll receive next. Okay, so our practice is to use the date of the issue as your call number. And I'm going to say 02-03 Feb March. Some libraries use a prefix, and that's okay. I know there's some libraries that, or at least one library that uses a generic call number, and then they put the date in like a part, but there's no parts here. You have to double back later and put the part in. I think that was probably intended so that patrons could place part holds on them. If that works for them, that's okay. It's just not something I would recommend. And then if you can either put in a real item barcode from your library, or you could have the system generate a dummy barcode by saying @auto and save. And because I had the routing list box checked, it's bringing up, actually it's bringing up my printer right away too. So this is what the routing list would print out as, showing which issue it is, and then the destinations on your route. So I could just print this off. I'm not connected to a printer, so if I did, it would just save it as a PDF. I'm just going to cancel it. But this is, if it didn't automatically come up to your printer, you could click print and achieve the same thing. Is that what you wanted to see, Leslie?
Yes, that's
Okay.
exactly what I wanted to see. Thank you.
Then when you're done, you're done. Okay, so if you happen to change your mind, you receive something you didn't mean to, and you created an item and all that good stuff, you could still take it back. If I said reset item, it will set it back to expected, and the unit it refers to would be the item barcode. I should have shown the item barcode first, but you're going to see something that's not there. Okay, so you don't see an item there. Let me go back to it. I'll receive it, and then we'll look at it. Okay. So it remembers what I put in on that previous issue. So we're back to add auto again. And I don't need to look at the routing list thing again. So you can change your mind partway through checking in whether or not you want a routing list to be produced. Okay, now let me have a look. All right, there's my item created. If I were to open it, you'd see that the state cert code isn't entered. So if you were doing manual editing, you would enter the state cert code at that point. Let's close that. Okay. So we see that now. If I went to holdings view, it's listed there. Now let me go back to serials. And again, if I decided I didn't mean to receive that one, I'm going to reset it. And if I went back to holdings view, holdings view, the item's gone. So that it takes care of it. You don't have to, fret and then delete the item first and then go reset your issue. It will take care of it in one step. I don't want to go there yet. Okay. It keeps thinking I want to be Ridgefield. Okay. This will not happen to you because you won't be doing flipping between libraries within mid management. Okay. So this receiving here is good if issues are coming out of order, because I'll show you in a little while, quick receive, unlike the Zool client, the old client, you can't designate which issue you want to receive. It offers up the next issue and you take it or leave it. So that's unfortunate. And I've filed a Launchpad ticket with the Evergreen community asking for more flexibility in that, or restoration of the old functionality. At this point, there's nothing you can do except come in here to manage issues and find the issue you actually do want to receive. And I'm just going to say, okay. So, I mean, that's how you manage if things are out of order. Let me just take a little side trip here to what's called in the biz the Muffhead records. I can't even remember exactly what that stands for, but it's about doing your summaries holding note. So you can either do them here under Manage Muffheads, or you can under the Serials button, you can do it, go straight to it. You'll end up in the same place. The first step is to create the Muffhead, and you select your library as you, and it just has an entry here, and there's nothing really that's telling you. So now we want to edit that, and it brings up this gnarly little mark record, but don't be scared. The tag number that you want to enter is 866. If you press the Control and Enter keys, that will open the line, and you'll put in 866, and there's be two boxes. They're called indicators. The first indicator should be entered as 4, and the second indicator is 1. And then you can put your note in subfield A, like library keeps 5 years. So I'm going to Control Enter. It offers up a 999 tag. I'm going to change that to 866. And I said 4 and 1 and A, and then onto my text. And then I will save that. So you can see the whole, that's right there. So these slides are actually, I'm going to put them up on the documentation page so you can come back and review this. So I've have an illustration of the pieces that go into that summary holdings note.
Mary, just
Yeah.
one question. Where do the summary holdings?
I will
where do
show
see
you.
them?
I'm on the way there.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. But I wanted to do some quick receiving before we got there, and then I will show you where the issues held shows. So under serials, we have an entry that says quick receive. You select your subscription if you had more than one. Okay, and then it's very familiar box. So we did, I took back February, March, didn't I? I'm going to do that, put that back in again. Oh, actually, it's telling me February, March. It shows you what issuance you're receiving. You don't have a choice. There's no way to, there's no drop down to pick a different week or month. So I'm back to doing. So if you ever lost, it's here under where it says issuance. That tells you which, it kind of falls off the screen there, but that's where you can tell what it is you're receiving. You want to make sure that that matches up. Okay, so I'm gonna do a reload of the screen. And I see there's a chat question. Mark format for holdings data. Thank you, Anne. That's what Muffhead stands for. I used to know that long ago, but after a while, acronyms just become their own words. So let me reload that. I should be seeing 2 issues. There it is. So here's my February, March, and there's that spring issue. Now the OPAC display. Among your items, you can see they appear in order from the earliest to the most recent, and we can't sort them. I know people have been pining for that for years, but we still can't do that in this interface. But where the actual serials work shows up here is here under issues held. And I should be just looking at my preferred library. That would be better. Okay, that's better. And issues held. I should only be seeing my issues in that band. Yeah, so there's this band that's, oh, come on. Preferred library. All right, once more with feeling. So we can see there's 2 holding summaries. One is generated by checking in issues, and the other is that text phrase that I entered earlier. It's unfortunate to me that the issues held band is so far down the screen because I don't know how many patrons will even go down that far, but that's where it is. And if there were more issues, you could expand and you'd see other issues that were held. So, because this will be a range. When I receive the next ones, then you'll see the first issue I received and the latest issue I received in a phrase. And then when you click on this, and sometimes it takes a long time to open, you'll see each individual issue listed out separately. So this is more of an interactive version of it. This is like just a read-only version of it. Let me check in something else. So we can actually see the full phrase there. I mean, the full range. All right, so I'm receiving April, May. So I'm going to change this to say for some reason I didn't get the prompts for the routing list and all that. You can see the 2 I received, show preferred library. If I'd come in searching for this as preferred library, I wouldn't be struggling with this bit. Okay. So you can see the first issue that was received and the most recent one. And this link is actually the slowest thing in the world. So I don't know if it's worth it to open it up, but. Okay, I want to do another magazine. Let me try Smithsonian because it has a twist about how things are published. There we go. Now this is only in the staff client that you see these types of holds. So you, just like with copy holds, the public can't do a copy hold in the OPAC, but you can for them. So you could place an issue hold for them here within the staff client. So if you are willing to be the intermediary on that, that's a way around doing the setting things up with parts for part holds for your patrons. All right, let me search another magazine. Magazine. Yeah, let me check my script here. All right, I'm going to actually change myself back to being me so I can cross libraries again. Well, I'm gonna go back. Okay, so I'm gonna look for Smithsonian. Staying with Killingworth is okay. And yeah, here's one that they actually had a magazine issue from before, but it wasn't tied to serials. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to serials. I'm going to manage subscriptions. And I don't know why I'm seeing everybody in the world now. Normally you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't see everybody. Okay, new subscription. Start date, review what, let's see, first issue's in April, so it's coming up. April 1st. Receiving template again is adult magazine. So I'm going to save that. And we're not going to route this one. So we're just going to manage predictions. And I'm going to create a template. Now this one, the magazine combines in January and February and July and August. So you can look to see if I did any patterns like that. So monthly, January, February, July, and August combined. So I'm going to pick that. And I'm going to create from that template. And I'm going to edit the pattern just to review it. So I can see the change starts in January. No, it shouldn't start in January. It starts in April, so I can fix that. Okay. And click next. Next. So here's an example of what it looks like when you combine issues. I added a regularity and I said, make it combined. I'm combining 2 months and I specified the months numerically. So 0102 for January and February, and then I added another one to combine July and August. So that's good. Click next, and I'm going to just save it and create. And then predict my new issues. So let me see. And I'm going to do 11 issues because I want to see both those picked up within the year, and there's only 10 issues in the year. So save. And when I go, there's April, May, June. Now this kind of thing, unlike the bi-monthly, there's really no good way to get it to say February, March, and April, May. But when you've got combined issues like that, it automatically supplies it. We see July and August are combined. And we go down here that issue number 9 is January and February. So everything looks good to me. So I'm happy with this. Remember to click barcode on receive so that when I do receive my issues, I'll get the prompts to enter the barcode numbers. So there's more detail if you want to review all this. Documentation is found on the documentation link down near the bottom of the page. And it actually comes from the Evergreen community. So it's not documentation I wrote, so it's not going to have our local library screens. But I also have videos that I did demonstrating the serial tasks on the instructional video page, and that's also near the bottom of the page. And if you want to practice this before actually starting to use it live, you can use the theory test server, assuming that they don't bring it down anytime soon for upgrade purposes. I think we're safe for a little while before that happens. So the address, in case you've forgotten, is https://theory.biblio.org/eg/staff. Stop sharing here and just take questions. Any questions? Have I lost anybody along the way? Is there some burning serial problem you've had that needs to be addressed?
That was good, actually. I think I'm gonna just start slow, Mary.
Okay.
Try a couple.
So the libraries who've had serials, when you get there, your subscription will already be in place, and there will already be a prediction pattern in place, and your issuances are there. So you can just build on what was done before. What I did was try to help out if you've got a new magazine, how to start from scratch. So you good, Ron? We've had the most conversations
I'll
about
have to give it a
serials.
try.
Okay.
It seems pretty straightforward, but you know how it is. You click on one thing and then you get turned around. So I actually have a new magazine, mindfulness. I'm gonna try this with. So
all right, it might not be in the theory database, but if
I
you
think
practice
it's in
on
the
other,
live category. I think
yeah,
one live
if you,
thing has
yeah,
it.
if you do that in live, practice a little bit with other things on theory, and then go for it in the live database.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've finished all my cataloging training, so yay. So everybody should be, if you're not live yet, you should be close to be. We have the upgrade coming up next month, just a few weeks away. All right, Vivian, that's fine. You can practice theory and ask anything you like. I'm hoping you'll find it's more intuitive than the old serials module was in the old client. I personally find it a lot easier, more streamlined, without having to click through a lot of tabs. And I know there were some magazines in the past that used to cause problems hanging when it was trying to generate issues. Fingers crossed that we won't see that kind of, I think People was one that used to be a problem, but I'm hoping this new interface, we won't see that kind of thing come up. In fact, I think this is actually closer to the other serials view, which was more grid based. And I think I used to recommend people try that for those problem children, and they usually made out better there. So I'm fairly confident it's going to be okay here.
So, question, Mary, we should wait until the upgrade in April to do any of this?
No,
these
I was
things
just
that you've noticed?
you can do it in the live database now. I'm in 3.5 just because this interface really hasn't changed from 3.1 to 3.5, and I'm sort of at one toe in the new world coming up, so I thought may as well do it here. But no, you can absolutely go ahead and do it in the live database now if you're comfortable with it. But do remember, theory is there to practice and make your mistakes first. So I would recommend taking a crack there. And again, if you're a library that's new to serials and you want to do it, remember to send a help desk ticket to say you want to use serials and designate which staff members should have the serials permission, the higher level setup permissions.
I don't really know what I have.
Well, if you were using serials before, I'm sure you must have been set up with it when we were redoing the permissions. And we is really broad. I had nothing to do with it. That was between Jessica and Amy and Carol to do all that setup work.
Great.
Any non-serials questions?
I like the web client. I think it's great.
I'm a fan too, and things will only get better as we progress. 3.5 has some new features in it. You might have caught a glimpse. Let me just,
Yeah,
did you see the carousel? Let me share.
yes, I did.
So we had that webinar. Let me go back to basic searching. We had that webinar a week or 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah,
And so Gina talked about the carousels. When you look at the basic search, you kind of get a glimpse of what it will look like to your public. So this is an example of new items. It says at Bibliomation Library, so I don't know the setup behind this carousel. But when you click on one of these, it takes you to the record and you can do whatever you need to do with that, place a hold or whatever. So I think that's kind of cool. And we've got the basket thing, which she demonstrated. Basket actions won't really work here. I don't have anything searched, but the basket actions would allow you to pick the items that you want to put in a carousel by putting them in a bucket first. But she's got all that written out, and she did her demo. Stop sharing. Is it the 10th? Month just is a blur.
it's finding all the time to use these cool new features.
Yep. We've had some libraries think that their staff didn't have catalog permissions, and it turned out to be related to templates. So that's why I sent that email out to Bibliomate last week about how to troubleshoot whether it's permissions or if it's a template issue. And so again, with magazines, I think somebody had sent me a thing that somebody couldn't catalog a magazine, and I think it turned out to be a template issue. So that's where you start with first. Just check templates, and if you've got one you're suspicious of, either edit it or delete it and start fresh, and you're all good. A lot of things get blamed on permissions that really aren't permission issues. Is there anything else that you need to know from me about serials? Or is it just so easy that there's nothing more to be said?
You're just a great instructor, Mary, that's all.
Well, I had my stumbles today, but what you gonna do? Just try not to get frazzled and keep going. Power through it.
Yep.
So this is being recorded, and when it's done, I will put it up on the instructional video page through the Evergreen portal, and that'll be accessible even whether on 3.1 or after we go to 3.5. That page is always good present. Some stuff on it might change. I'm redoing the cataloging manual to show screenshots because all those things got relabeled. Buttons would have new names, so I wanted things to be more accurate. So I've redone the documentation, and I redid some videos, but I haven't finished the editing on those yet, but they all should be in place before we go live on 3.5.
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, we didn't take a full 2 hours. I built in extra time in case, there was a ton of questions being thrown at me, but that seemed pretty cool. So if there's nothing else, then we can end our meeting. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
You're
Mary.
well.
Bye.